I'm standing in front of an amazing finished kitchen space, but we're actually here because there was a $600,000 catastrophic event that took place. So what happened was the homeowners were away on vacation and they had a toilet that burst on the second floor. It ruined all 3 floors of their house. It poured water into the home for over 24 hours and hundreds of gallons of water at a time. When the house sitter showed up to take a look at the house 24 hours later, there was water coming through the siding and there was water pouring through the appliances. So I'm going to take you through the events that led to getting us to this place of a beautiful finished kitchen and what it was like for the clients when they showed up from coming home from vacation and their house was completely destroyed. So when we first met Neil and Mel, this house was a complete catastrophe and they were in complete disarray. This wasn't just a kitchen sink that burst and ruined the cabinets and the flooring. Their entire home, from the 3rd floor through the 1st, 2nd, and the basement, was completely destroyed. And in moments like that, it's complete chaos. What it takes is just diligent effort between figuring out what the client needs from a personal level and navigating the initial process with the insurance company just to figure out how are we going to solve for this big catastrophic event. But I think the most important thing that's happening is there's this major emotional roller coaster that's taking place that also needs to be considered and solved for. So having a team of the client, of understanding the scenario and also understanding that this is going to be a lot more than just a kitchen replacement and we're going to be in this for a long time together is the starting point. They were very great to work with. Fast forward all the way to this point, almost a year later, their patients were exactly what they needed to be, which was at times very high and at times very low. But we get through this process together. That's what it looks like from day one until the moment that we're standing in front of a beautiful finished kitchen. So one of the biggest challenges in catastrophic insurance events like these is getting the documentation right from the beginning. Why that's important is if you don't do that, the homeowner could end up in a situation where the adjuster is just not able to completely grasp all of the moving parts that's happening in the project, and the client and the homeowner in this case would end up being severely underfunded in the project. And we see that all the time. So it's really the difference in the very beginning before anything starts to come in after the damage and do a complete thorough assessment of the entire space to make sure we've grasped every teeny little moving part so that the client ends up getting everything taken care of through the insurance process. So what Dave and I did in this scenario was after renovation or after restoration, we came in and we went floor to floor. We made a sketch and we made a scope of work down to the detail of every room. And I'll show you what that looks like. This is literally just handwritten notes inside of the sketch of the entire space. And what that allowed us to do is we were able to take this and hand it directly to the insurance adjuster when they came. And instead of them spending 4 or 5 hours here, because there's 3 floors to go to, they were here for maybe an hour, hour and a half, and then he was able to drive 2.5 hours back home because we were able to give all of this information to him right from the beginning. So there was no 2 different people creating 2 different estimates or 2 different scope of work. We got ahead of it and we got it right. And that which led us right to the point where they were able to take our proposal that we derived from this, which was $600,000, and they were able to approve it within a matter of weeks because all the upfront work was done. So that's what could happen. What could happen if you don't do that is you could end up needing $600,000, but only getting $300,000 and fighting with the insurance company for a long time. So it's a matter of teamwork and just getting there before all of those moving parts happen and getting ahead of it. And that's what we were able to do for this client in this scenario. It was this toilet that had the supply line burst and create that 24 hours of water running, hundreds of gallons filling through the entire house. The kitchen is what's directly below us. So it was literally pouring through the floor, into the cabinets, out of the appliances and into the basement. And of course, water went everywhere because it ran for 24 hours, basically flooding this entire space. So when you have major water damage like this, it isn't just taking up the floor and taking off the drywall and taking down the cabinets. There's a lot more to it. When water has sat for that long, you have to worry about things like mold and mildew. And what Dave did was early in the process, we brought in somebody that was able to test for mold on a couple of occasions. we had to discover where it was to do some mold remediation, then another test and more mold remediation. And it takes diligent effort. It takes knowing what you're looking for. So it's the understanding that I can't just take drywall off of this, put a fan on it, and expect everything is going to be okay. For a homeowner, they need the assurance that there's not going to be mold and mildew that's following them now for the rest of their life. So knowing what you need to do in the beginning is the first and foremost part, but then following the tedious process that just takes time, right? Because we can't go into construction until the mold tests are done, because there's airborne tests and we can't be creating dust. So basically construction can't even start until you get through those initial steps of the process. So water gets into your HVAC equipment and your ductwork. Complete tear out and replace, because any little bit of spore and mold creating that can contaminate those systems is a complete tear out. And just not everybody knows that, right? So it's a matter of knowing what water can do short-term and long-term, getting it out completely removed. VZ Electric was the electrician on this project with us, and he's also a very educated person. He was able to explain to us that even water that sits on some of the brass fittings inside the electrical devices will create pitting, and then eventually just corrosion of the connections of all the devices, which at some point they're going to not work, go bad, or even potentially cause a fire. So you're talking rewiring an entire house just because it got wet. It's not the water, but it's those long-term effects. So, water damage to electrical systems, HVAC, mold behind plywood, all of these things are to be considered when there's a major water damage like this. And that's why we're here almost a year later. It just takes that long to get through the entire process and end up with ultimately a very beautiful space at the end of the day. I mean, they're going to end up with this beautiful master bathroom and what we saw in the kitchen below, which is amazing. For them, they get to have a space that's now going to last for another 30 to 50 years, but they had to go through some hard times to get here. So, but those are the steps it takes, to thoroughly follow the process to get to this point. So it's projects like this one that remind us that construction isn't just about the power tools and the 2x4s and the hammers and the nails. It's really about being able to take someone who's in, a complete catastrophe situation and help them get from the place where everything is crumbling down around them to being able to move back into their home and feel safe and feel, that everything was done the right way and have that sense of security. And construction, we talk about it in the office all the time, is bigger than what meets the surface. These are people's lives that we're helping. And especially in a scenario like this one, it's awesome to be a part of that. It's difficult to say it's awesome to be a part of something that was so difficult, but at the same time, it's awesome to be standing here today after getting through all of that and knowing that we did everything that we possibly could, and knowing that they're, very pleased with the result that took place, and, just how we were able to help them navigate all those little details with the insurance company as well. So, we're always very appreciative when people allow us to come into their home, trusting us with their most valuable asset. They've got 10 grandchildren. The basement, this is where they gather for holidays. The basement is where all 10 grandchildren go and stay. There's toys and stuff everywhere down there. So, we know it's important to come into someone's home and treat it with respect and be trusted, and it means a lot to us. So super nice project for a great bunch of people. And, it's just what construction is about for us.